What's going on, guys? Dorco back again. Hope you're fantastic today, and welcome to the interview with Scott Corfin. I am so excited and nervous at the same time. I'm so freaking nervous for this, but it's going to be great. I've got a bunch of questions to ask him from all of the games, so FNAF 1 through till Ultimate Custom Night, and the future as well. So we're going to ask him some future updates, what he's planning, and stuff about himself as well. So it's going to be a great interview. Please understand as well that I've got a lot of questions, but I couldn't ask everybody's, of course. I got like literally 10,000 questions from you guys, so I had to pick each ones, and I gave Scott the questions, and we've reviewed them together for the ones he wants to answer. Okay, so yeah, that's all I need to say. Thank you so much for the support, and again, thank you, Scott, for the opportunity to give you an interview. I am incredibly nervous. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I'm incredibly grateful for you guys and Scott as well, and this franchise. Happy anniversary to FNAF. 4 years today. It's insane. Let's go. Hello?
Hello. If you're hearing this, that means that you beat 50-20 mode, and I have to do an interview now, which I'm kind of uncomfortable with, but I'm going to do it. Forget it. Okay, I'm done with the phone guy shtick, so I was going to try and keep it going for a while, but no, I think I'll just end it right there.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect.
So how are you doing today, Lewis?
I am very scared and nervous, because, you know.
No, that's crazy talk. Yeah, I've been a little anxious about this too, because I tend to ramble on with my answers sometimes, but I haven't prepared any answers for this. I'm just going to try to speak from the heart and just talk about some stuff, and yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, awesome. Because today is the 4-year anniversary of Five Nights at Freddy's. So 4 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, 4 years.
And we'll just get straight into it. So the first game, so 4 years since Five Nights at Freddy's 1, we're going to go straight into that. So the first question I'd love to ask you, kick it off with, how did you think of the original designs of the animatronics? So the original gang.
The main three characters, Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica, those designs just kind of, I didn't really plan ahead like what animals they should be. Those three just kind of seemed natural to me for some reason. Mm-hmm. The only one I really struggled with was trying to think of the fourth character, who would be on the separate little stage kind of by himself.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember all the options that I originally was kind of debating between. I mean, one of the contenders was a fox, obviously, which ended up winning. The other one was a wolf. Another one was going to be a beaver, but then later I decided against that because I thought that was too on the nose from Chipper, so I decided against that. But yeah, actually, if I remember correctly, I really think that a beaver character was the front runner until I finally decided against him because of Chipper, and then went with Fox instead.
Yeah. So Freddy was always going to be the original leader instead of Chipper.
Yeah. Freddy was always going to be the main character. He was the first character that I made. Mm-hmm. It just came naturally. I didn't have to plan him out. I just knew that he was going to be a bear with a top hat, holding a microphone.
Yeah.
He was always going to be the leader of the pack.
The next question is, how did you come up with the game mechanics? So sitting alone in an office, not being able to move. I think someone mentioned about Sit and Survive. Did that have any inspiration for that? Any old games inspire you for this one?
Well, I don't think it was Sit and Survive. Sit and Survive was just kind of all of these games. Well, then again, I guess it was my mindset at the time, because my mindset at the time was to make smaller games. Mm-hmm. And that would be kind of a shorter experience, because for a while I was trying to make these, big kind of sweeping epic games like The Desolate Hope and stuff, and it was just too much of a gigantic commitment that ultimately that they just weren't paying off. And at the time I was really struggling to find something to kind of support my family and everything. Mm-hmm. And Five Nights at Freddy's was kind of the result of me switching to this idea of making these shorter experiences that I can make a bit faster, without committing, 2 years to them, while also, just making it a really robust experience. It's just a shorter game,
Yeah.
So I think that played a big part in it. Everything is designed to where you see everything right away. As soon as you jump in, you're in the experience. And so it doesn't matter if it lasts for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. You're in the middle of it right away. And yeah.
Did anything change along the course of making FNAF 1?
I don't think I had any problems. Lots of the stuff that was in there, I don't know. Five Nights at Freddy's 1, I think just was a result of just all the right ingredients to be there. I threw a bunch of stuff in there, and then people would the people who test it would kind of give me, and I'm not my kids. I let some other people test it as well. But they would give me some advice. Like one person said, "Oh, I think you should leave out Phone Guy. I think that's too much exposition." And then and my mother jumped in and said, "Oh, I don't think you should have backstory about anybody getting killed. I don't think the game needs that." And then I think I'd made a lot of good decisions about what to leave in, and what to take out. And it was just all the right ingredients. All the right ingredients were there. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out.
It really stood out from all of the indie games everybody was playing at that time, and that's definitely how it became successful. It just stood out from any other horror experience as well. So yeah, good job. Really good job. Speaking about that, about it exploding, did you think it was going to, get a huge reaction on the internet?
No, of course not. I mean, but like I said, at the time, I was just trying to, make a bunch of little games to kind of, help support my family. And at the time, I think I was making, slot machine games and just, anything would bring in an extra, $40 or $50 a month, and just trying to accumulate all that stuff up. So no, whenever I mean, don't get me wrong, that wasn't just an afterthought of a game. I mean, I put a lot of, time and effort into Five Nights at Freddy's, obviously, but as far as, expecting it to explode, no, of course not. I remember whenever I released it, I didn't get it on Steam or anything. It was a website called Desera at the time, which was just more immediately welcoming of, anybody who wanted to post games. I think there are other sites that do that now. But, I was watching the download count on that, and I was watching it just kind of skyrocket. And, and eventually my wife would come over and she'd be like, let me look at the number. She'd come over every 10 minutes wanting to see, because she was just astonished at how quickly that number was just going from, 5,000 downloads, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. It was just going through the roof just by the minute, And it really, at the time, I was just kind of enjoying it that evening. I was like, well, this is great, this is, but it'll be over tomorrow, and that was really my mindset. It's like, oh wow, this is, it's a big spike. Everybody's really enjoying it. I wonder what I'm going to make tomorrow. I had no idea that 4 years later, I was still going to be in the middle of a bunch of, Five Nights at Freddy's projects. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's really awesome. Do you have a favorite memory of Five Nights at Freddy's 1?
Yeah, I do. And it's the first jump scare for me and the first jump scare for my two kids, and it was all Bonnie, which thrills me, because Bonnie is kind of the only one that I think is a scary design for me. Like, I've never had a nightmare about any of my own characters except for Bonnie. But yeah, I remember when I was developing the game at the time, Bonnie was just a still image and not an animated jump scare. I just had an image of Bonnie up in your face for whenever he had reached you. Yeah. And that startled me. I was flipping through the panels and stuff, and I was intentionally I was testing out the AI. Yeah. I think I even had a little map showing me that there was a little red dot moving through the building. But even though I was expecting it, I put down the monitor and there was Bonnie looking at me, and it was upsetting. It was startling. Yeah. And now, now that doesn't really startle anybody anymore, but at the time, I don't know, it got me. And so then I was after I'd animated, I was letting my two sons play it, and I was getting to watch I had a good seat behind both of them, so I was able to get a good view of them playing and what they were playing and everything. And I knew what was coming, and they had no idea. and the younger of the two, he got jump scared by Bonnie, and he just launched backward in his chair. Good times tormenting the children.
I mean, you still do. You made them test Ultimate Custom Night as well. 4 years on.
No, I'll tell you what. My two sons, Ian and Braden, they've been great. They've been great supporters. All these years. I couldn't have done any of this without those two. They've been just faithful beta testers for me. And whenever they were really little, I'd pay them through ice cream and stuff like that. But I made a big mistake this last time with Braden. Obviously I don't make them do this, so I tried to incentivize them. And Braden and Braden's gotten wise to it. He's like, well, how about if I go through and beat all these challenges, And so I just thought, well, I don't know, I'll give you, I'll give you $20 for each of the challenges you beat, thinking he was going to beat one or two of them. I was like, yeah, he'll spend 30 minutes on this, so I'll commit 20, $20, $40, $60, whatever. He sat there and he did like a 12-hour marathon on that game. He was playing it nonstop. He was raging so hard in there, and he completed every single one of those challenges except for like the last one, I think. Yeah. That boy made bank that day. He walked away with about $300.
Oh, worth it.
yeah, man. But it was totally worth it because he found bugs and glitches that would have been really bad. I mean, that's the whole point anyway. He found these things that I needed to fix before I released the game. So
okay, here's an interesting question about FNAF 1. Was there any reason why the kitchen camera was disabled, like due to gameplay limits on Click Team or anything like that?
No. I just thought it would be interesting. I mean, that mechanic ended up not really playing a big role in anything. I think originally, I had wanted, and I got better with this in later games, how to make audio play a bigger role in it. I got better at that. But in the first one, that was just my attempt to make audio play a bigger part in it. Yeah. But yeah, it kind of ended up just being just something different and not really being a major mechanic or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good mechanic to know that Freddy was in the kitchen as well, because when Freddy's in the kitchen, he plays his music, right?
That's right. That's right.
So I think it does play a mechanic, because you know that Freddy's in there, and usually when Freddy's roaming around, you see his eyes, but you just see nothing inside there. So when you were making Five Nights at Freddy's 1, were you already planning on making a sequel, or any other ideas what were flinging in your head on what to do?
I definitely left a lot of things open-ended, in case I wanted to expand upon them later. I mean, obviously, like I did not have the entire story planned out, as I know there's much debate about that on the subreddit. It's like, he's some kind of mad genius that had 7 games planned out from the beginning. No, I didn't. But I definitely knew that the story I was telling in the first game was a small snippet of a larger story. Even if I didn't have all the details of that story fleshed out yet, I knew that the story being told in that game was a smaller part of a whole.
And if you could go back in time, is there anything you would change or add to Five Nights at Freddy's 1?
No, not the first one. Yeah. I can go back and think about all the other games and be like, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. But no, the first game was just kind of a perfect storm of ingredients. It was, it was just the right time. It was when, everybody was really into indie horror games. Yeah. And I think it was the right look, and it was the right feel, because it was something, different than what everybody else was playing. And it was, kind of a type of horror game, or at least the antagonists were something that hadn't really been explored in horror games, I didn't feel. The idea of animatronic creatures. So and everybody really liked Phone Guy. Obviously, everybody liked the little Easter eggs thrown in and the backstory. No, it was just a good mix of ingredients, and it was kind of lightning in a bottle. And I don't think I was ever able to fully capture that again, and I don't think I really will be able to. And that's okay. I mean, like I said, that was kind of lightning in a bottle.
Right, we'll go on to Five Nights at Freddy's 2 next. November 2014. If you didn't make this game, I wouldn't be here now, basically. Honestly, it's the truth. So FNAF 2 is the game that really means a lot to me, and I'll be forever grateful for it. So, yeah, thank you. Just wanted to quickly plug that in.
Good.
I appreciate it. About Five Nights at Freddy's 2, how did you get the idea for, changing the mechanics up a little bit? So the masks and the vents, watching the puppet.
There wasn't a really in-depth planning phase. For like the overall feel of the games, like a lot of these were, I just kind of knew what they were supposed to be, or just kind of felt the way that the series should progress. Like I knew that part 2 should be chaotic. Part 2 should be, a lot more chaotic than the first one. It should be just crazy. It should be overwhelming panic. And then I also knew, even at that time, before as I was working on part 2, I knew that 3 should be a very personal experience. It should be the opposite of what 2 was. Part 3 should be kind of one-on-one, and I knew that part 4 should be kind of unique as far as setting and things like that. And I knew that part 5 should be kind of high tech, and I even kind of already had color schemes picked out. Like I knew that part 5 should kind of be purples and blues. I knew that 3 should be kind of green, and I knew that 2 should be kind of 2 should feel kind of industrial, which I think that it does. But outside of that, I'm not really sure. And maybe there was more to it at the time, but it all happened so fast.
Did you have any scrapped content or anything for the game? Because some people mentioned the toxicity. Is that toxicity meter?
Right. The toxic meter. I think, if I remember correctly, I think that the toxic meter was an early idea on just something so that players couldn't put the mask on and leave it on forever.
Yes, leave it on forever.
I had the idea that if you put the mask on, this meter starts running out. But I don't know, that didn't really seem to fit. I don't know, it just didn't make quite as much sense. And so then the way that I solved it was, obviously having the need to go and wind the music box every once in a while, and the fact that, Foxy was immune to the mask. So I came up with other ways that felt a little more natural than just putting on the mask and seeing a meter deplete. Like, oh, okay, I can only wear this for 5 seconds. It seemed a little too artificial. And
it works perfectly anyway, so I don't think it was needed anyway because of what you just said, the things that you've added. You're not going to always keep the mask on forever anyway, so... Yeah. Was there a reason why you decided to remove Toy Chica's beak after she left the stage to make her more creepy, right?
Once again, I'm not entirely sure what my mindset was on that. I think it was just kind of a way to distinguish her stage presence Chica from now I'm a monster coming to get you. If she's entered attack mode or something. Once again, actually, I think maybe part of it is because, a classic Chica, even on stage, was still kind of creepy looking, but the toy versions, just in their standing state on stage, weren't quite as creepy. I mean, I think Toy Bonnie still retains some of that, but Toy Chica isn't really scary looking. Toy Chica by herself isn't very scary, I didn't think. And so removing the beak was just one thing to just kind of push it into, making her look a little more uncomfortable.
How did you come up with the mini games? Because this was the first game to ever have mini games. Was this to, show the lore not on paper, if that makes sense? So, instead of just giving this and this and this, oh, blah, 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 the killer killed 5 kids, yada, yada, yada. But instead you didn't show it on paper, you put into a mini game. Right.
I think it was because, I don't know, I wanted to keep the gameplay experience similar. but I also wanted to make the game a little bit more fleshed out than the first one, and so that just seemed like a kind of a natural way to do that, where, you know, while not interfering with the gameplay, you know, putting it in kind of an unexpected way that would make it interesting, but while also not making the player feel like they're forced to sit through cutscenes and things like that.
Do you have any good memories of FNAF 2 at all, or bad?
That was a really stressful time for me, I think, because obviously, you know, my life was changing a lot at that point. You know, there was just a lot of, there was a big frenzy going on with just all aspects of my life, and I was really trying to work on that. But I mean, there's still good memories, but I just wouldn't want to revisit that. You know, it was really chaotic, and I was really stressed out. So I mean, all good memories, but I wouldn't want to revisit.
Okay, we'll move on to Five Nights at Freddy's 3 then. So this is when I emailed you for early access. I literally had only like I think it was like 6k subs or something like that, and I've still got the email. I was like, hey Scott, my name's Dorco, I make FNAF videos. Is there any chance I can get it early when it comes out? And you said, yeah, you put me on your list, which is insane. And that like, honestly,
I've still got that list. I've still got that list on my desktop, the same one from all those years ago. And it's literally called my the VIP list. You said that in the email. You said, I'll put you on the VIP list, and I was so happy. I was screaming when you replied. Oh, such a good memory. And I don't use that list very often anymore, but I still keep it, you know, because you never know what's going to come up, you know, for future events. I always keep that VIP list.
That's awesome. Am I still on it?
Yeah, of course you're still on it. Yeah, everybody's. Okay. I never take anybody off the VIP list.
Okay, so I can be bad, and then you'll never take me off, right?
Well, I mean, don't test it.
I was kind of testing it with Ultimate Custom Night with this 50-20 mode fiasco. Five Nights at Freddy's 3, another good memory for me. February. After this game came out, I was in university studying law at the time, and I quit to carry on with this game franchise for my channel. So yeah, another good memory with FNAF 3. First off, how did you think of Springtrap?
I don't know. Once again, he was just the character for that game. I did not sketch out a whole bunch of characters and write pros and cons lists. You know, he was just the natural villain for that. You know, I knew what the villain was supposed to be, and I just kind of started modeling him, and he just kind of came together.
Yeah. This model was like a big difference compared to the other ones that you did, because you had to go through all the details of the, you know, it being withered and having like body parts and gore and stuff like that. Yeah,
so he did take longer to model, and you know, his purple corpse is in that whole body that whole time. Yeah. You know, even though the majority of the game you never see it, you know. Yeah, purple guy, he's in there.
Yeah, and well, we got those secret images.
Yeah, that's true. You get to see him a little bit.
Yeah, and the troll. Was this the first time you did the troll game as well? Was this the first? This was when you first.
Yep, it sure was.
The launch of the troll games.
Yeah, that was the first troll game.
And it was.
Sure was.
Oh, we were. It was like a platformer from one of your old games, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, old game. There is no pause button. I stuck Freddy's head.
Yes, that's it. Yes. But that was the first time we saw Springtrap as well, because you put Springtrap in the menu, and there were some frames where he did have his his mask and stuff going crazy, like coming on and off. But
that's right.
I remember the first teaser you did with He Always Comes Back and stuff, and people originally thought that it was like Fredbear, didn't they? Instead of being
they thought it was Golden Freddy, yeah.
Yeah, instead of it being like a rabbit character. So I remember those times, man. I was one of them, by the way. I originally thought it was Golden Freddy. This game was when things went a little bit crazy with like the mini games and stuff, and the good ending and the bad ending. If you can answer this, which ending really happened?
I've given a lot of thought as to whether or not I should answer this question.
Okay.
And I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And the answer is very interesting.
Okay.
You know? The answer is very interesting. The answer is complex.
Okay.
However, I'm not going to answer it because it's only going to cause strife. I mean, you see the kind of trouble that erupts, especially several years ago. The flame wars that would go on over Mangel's gender, something as simple as that. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, people with torches and pitchforks. You know. No, I don't think I'm going to answer this one, I'm afraid.
So, the good ending, you know, it was very, you know, sad, and it seemed like it was like the end of the franchise. Was this meant to be the final game?
I think when I was making that game, in my mind, that was the end of a trilogy.
Yeah.
You know, I think in my mind, the story was going to be 3 games. And in all honesty, I think Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was where I kind of started letting myself be driven a little bit more by criticisms of the game than maybe I had before. Before, everybody was just really, really excited, you know, happy to have all this stuff. But whenever 3 came out, I really was starting to pay attention to criticism. You know, for instance, you know, even though I may have, you know, in some, you know, alternate life, may have left the series alone at 3, people were not happy with the jump scare, and it's kind of as simple as that. People weren't happy with the jump scare of Springtrap, and that really bothered me. And so then that kind of, in my mind, that wouldn't let the series rest in a way, because I wanted to make another entry that was really, really scary again.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I accomplished that with Five Nights at Freddy's 4. You know, really focusing on really cool, really quick, unexpected jump scares that would kind of make you jerk. So yeah, so honestly, the series kind of was nudged forward by me wanting to improve upon the last entry.
Okay, awesome. That's interesting. Speaking about Five Nights at Freddy's 4, this was the next one. July. Well, you originally planned it for it to be a Halloween release, right? And then you released it in July.
Right. Well, I had things to do. You know, the way that I see it is that if you have something ready to go,
just do it. Yeah.
I mean, what's the point? You know, I'm not a, you know, I wasn't a gigantic corporation, you know, with, you know, releasing, you know, advertise with a big marketing campaign, all targeting a specific date, trying to squeeze it between other releases. You know, I mean, I had people who were excited about the game and who were looking forward to it, and those are the only people that I was thinking about. You know, it's like, hey, you know, there's a fan base here, and they're excited for this. You know, why not just go ahead and let them have it, and I'll just hop into the next project. You know, and that served me really well for, you know, for the majority of the games. Yeah.
Because I remember I was on holiday, wasn't I? And you emailed me about doing a first thoughts on the game. And I remember you emailing me, like, I think it was like literally the day after, saying, you know what, I'm just going to release it. So I think that made everybody excited about it, though. Like, everyone was like, right, we know what it's like now. Scott, please just release it now. Because, and you did. So I think, like, you know, I played it on holiday, and I have a lot of good memories playing through it. You know, while I'm screaming when people are next door to me, because, you know, on cruise ships cabins are really close together, so I was full on screaming in my cabin. I was honestly wondering what the next door neighbours were thinking about what the hell I was doing.
Well, I'm glad that it ended up being a good memory. Sorry to stress you out. You're not the only person that I stressed out, by the way. So don't feel like you were getting isolated, trying to cause you trouble. I think, if I remember correctly, right after I released Five Nights at Freddy's 4, I was sending out emails saying, "Hey, this game's out. Hey, this game's out." And I sent one to Markiplier, and he emailed me back saying, "Dude, I can't play this. I just got to, this game conference just started. It's going to be going on for 4 days." So I stressed him out too, because obviously at the time everybody was pestering him, to play it immediately. And I think that he was able to, being the good sport that he is, he's still just like you did, even though you were inconvenienced, you still found time to, do videos.
Yeah, I always try to. If you remember with FNAF World, and I was in hospital, I still played it.
Yeah, that's right. You sure were.
Yeah. Oh god. Oh, I could never miss anything ever. So with Five Nights at Freddy's 4, like you said, I think you basically answered this question anyway about the game and the mechanics. Like you said that you wanted to make this more scarier. Back to like, being anxious all the time. And the interesting thing you did with this one is I feel like every game you make, you try and implement a new mechanic that you haven't done before. And this one was specifically to do with sound, because you had to go to the doors and listen closely for breathing. And I think that impacted the jump scare like a million times as scary. Because, you full on listening to the game. You have to listen to the game. So when you get that jump scare out of nowhere, while you're listening, waiting for them to breathe, I think that really, made the game stand out.
Yeah, well, lots of the games were kind of experimental with different ways of initiating, the jump scare to see what was really effective. And yeah, I think looking into, this big dark chasm in front of you, not knowing if there's a face, 2 inches from your own face looking back at you, and you having to commit to turn on the flashlight, and then I think that one really worked. Yeah,
it's terrifying. So how were these to model? Were they, just as hard as Springtrap? Because it seemed like you were going all out on these Nightmare animatronics for the designs.
Yeah, the Nightmare animatronics were probably the most elaborate to model. I mean, I remember, anytime I start a new game, that's always the most difficult phase, is just starting into the modeling phase, because I know that it's going to take a really long time. And it takes a lot of patience, a lot of attention to detail. The Five Nights at Freddy's 1 models weren't that bad. I think I modeled Freddy in 2 days, and then I think I took that model and adjusted to make Bonnie in another day. And then the ones from Five Nights at Freddy's 2 were probably about the same day, maybe 1 or 2 days per character. I mean, that's working all day on them, but still just a day or two per character. Yeah. I think Springtrap took maybe 4 or 5 days to make him. Yeah. And each of the Nightmare animatronics, I think I spent about a week and a half on each one. Right. I think a couple of them even 2 weeks on each one, just because lots of teeth, lots of tears in the fabric, which are not texture mapped on. I mean, those are actually kind of torn out into the model, because I just think it looks a lot more convincing than trying to, texture map them on there. So I'd have to go in there really close, and I would have to actually, cut into that character, delete polygons and then straighten them all out to make them look like they're sharp corners rather than blocky squares. There's a lot of work, but I mean totally worth it though.
Yeah, exactly. So about the models, people were wondering about Foxy's tongue. So Foxy originally had a tongue in the teaser. Did you take that out because of complications with the game or anything?
No, I took it out because I didn't think it was scary on the teaser. There's something about those long snake-like demonic tongues that they're kind of cool in theory, but they're not really scary in practice. Like I don't think I've ever seen a monster in a movie, extend out, its long tongue and snake it around and then me be scared by it. They're just not very scary. So I just took it out for the game. Yeah,
awesome. About this game, it created a bit of a divide between people. specifically the box at the end, and then the TV advertisement with 1983, and then the Bite of 87 debate. How did you feel about the reactions to that?
Kind of like with Five Nights at Freddy's 3, where there was something I was kind of left unsatisfied with. The reaction to Five Nights at Freddy's 4, and the box is tied into this, very, very closely. I don't think that people weren't really happy from a lore standpoint, even though I got the jump scares kind of right.
Yeah.
And the box really fit into that lore aspect. I felt that it had all gone kind of it had strayed too far from an actual story in a way. Me just saying that, I'm going to get torn apart for even saying that, because people are going to look at what I've ended up with. They're going to be like, and you call this a story? But Five Nights at Freddy's 4, it kind of went a little too broad. It cast its net too wide for interpretation. I guess that's the best way to say it. It went too broad for interpretation, and that left people unsatisfied. Because whereas the other ones, there were mysteries. 4 ended up just too mysterious to the point where you really couldn't, there was no real way to figure out what was going on. And it left people unsatisfied. And like I said, with jumping from 3 to 4, I knew that I had to go in and straighten that out. It's like, people aren't really happy with this. I need to make another game. I need to kind of ground this again, not necessarily in reality, but I need to ground it in kind of storytelling again. And really lay this down with what's going on. Obviously I watch all the game theory videos, and me and Matt have sometimes had an antagonistic relationship back and forth. I inconvenience him with my games, and sometimes he inconveniences me with his theories, but it's all in good fun, But I'll tell you, he did a video on that box, and he kind of said that he thinks the contents of the box changed over the years. And I bet nobody gave that a whole lot of thought, but I saw that and I was like, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. The contents of that box have changed over the years, because it's for that very reason. It's because of what I was intending the game to be when it happened, and then after the reaction of it, I was like, I need to craft this into something better for the people who see this as important, and that kind of indirectly does change the contents of the box, because it changes the contents of everything that came before. So I thought that was an interesting observation on his part.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned this on one of your Steam posts or something, that you put some things in sister location to ground out the story of FNAF 4, right? Yeah. Right, so I mentioned about the hospital fiasco. This was when FNAF World was on the scene. So why did you decide to change things up and make FNAF World? Well,
I do have some reasons for why I made it, even though they're not. It doesn't mean it was a good idea. Just because I want to go ahead and get that out front. Just because I had reasons for making it doesn't mean it was a good idea. But one part of it was just that, there's only so much that you can let your mind focus on, murders and tragedy and stuff like that before you kind of start cracking. Even if it's just stories that you're making up, there's only so much human suffering that a human mind can sit around and think about. And at that point, I was 2 years in, just fully committed to this grisly story of murders. And I had to make something more lighthearted. And in hindsight, what I should have done is, I should have used that for a troll game, or I should have, made something like, Foxy Fighters. I should have just done something that was obviously for fun and not tried to somehow tie it in to a canon game. And that's obvious to me now. But like I'm saying, like I was saying, I wasn't thinking completely rationally at the time. And whereas, like I was saying, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was the right game at the right time, FNAF World, that wasn't a good time for it to be made, because I was already in the rhythm of making games that were, coming out not too far apart from each other. I was making them pretty fast, and that's what people were wanting and expecting, and that's what I was wanting to do anyway. I'm not, blaming people for wanting that. That's what I had created, that pattern, and I was happy with that. I liked making games really fast, but that was just a really poor decision of a game to try to make fast. you know, in hindsight, like now would have probably been a better time to sit back and work on something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you know, like after all the kind of, after I was kind of satisfied with all the Canon games and other companies that, you know, kind of taken on some other projects, then I could sit back and maybe enjoy making an RPG, you know, and spend a couple of years on it, you know, and just make something really nice, kind of, you know, that looked like the, you know, the Desolate Hope, you know, really make some nice 3D models for it. Oh, and another mistake I made was FNAF World. I was designing it for mobile. I don't know. You know, this is a whole separate interview about what went wrong with FNAF World. So let's just move along.
Okay. So how would you treat the game now as an experience? Like, have you learned anything making this game?
Oh yeah. I learned a lot. Yeah, in fact, right before you called, I was kind of thinking over that game, and I realized that, you know, that's probably the least valuable game I've ever made as far as profit is concerned. Mm-hmm. But it's also the single most valuable game out of the entire franchise. And the reason is because what I learned from FNAF World is what is driving every single project going on right now. It is serving as the gemstone of quality control in my mind, and it has solidified exactly what I have to do going forward. If I was treating the movie as I was treating my game series at the time I made FNAF World, we would be 3 movies into the FNAF movies by now. Yeah, and they would probably be terrible. You know, if I had the mindset that, oh hey, it's Five Nights at Freddy's, people will love it, you know, regardless of quality, then we would already have several movies and they would all be terrible. I mean, you know, and this, you know, Ultimate Custom Night would have come out way too soon, and it just served as a really important lesson for me that you should never take. It taught me to never take for granted. Yeah. How special it is to have a group of people who are eager to play what you make. Whenever I made you know, I'll use the Desolate Hope as my example again. I saw one person made a piece of fan art of that on the internet. I found it on Google, so I'm going to draw one of the characters, and that was the most special thing to me in the world, that someone had drawn a picture of one of my characters. Like, I can't even tell you how important seeing that one drawing was. And it was just, you know, I'd have no idea who it was. You know, but then, you know, to have a fan base and to have kids that are drawing these pictures and, you know, sending. I got a letter from the other day addressed to Foxy. Oh. You know, and God bless the post office in my town for knowing me and for sending me these letters anyway. I kid you not, it was addressed to Foxy, only to Foxy, and I think below it might have had some other clue as to who it was for, but the post office made sure to pass it along to me. Oh. You know, I mean, how awesome is that? You know, and the letter was written to Foxy. You know, it was asking Foxy a question.
That's so awesome.
You know, that's so. There's nothing more priceless than that. Yeah. You know, and to have a fan base, you know, of people who care about these characters in the games, you know, that is the only thing that matters. You know, and they should never be taken for granted. Yeah. And you know, who cares if something is commercial, and who cares if something is going to make a whole bunch of money? You know, you just have to make sure that whenever those people finally get to see this next thing, that it's something that lifts them up and makes them happy, and it's something that it was everything that they wanted to see. You know, like that's all that matters, you know. And I need to write that kid back. I'm going to go get a big envelope and put a bunch of Foxy plush toys, and I'm going to write a letter as Foxy. I've never done that before, but I'm going to totally do it. And I'm going to even make a little tear in the paper and say that it was my hook that said it. I'm going to totally do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
But yeah, so yeah, that's a long story. But no, FNAF World taught me to never take for granted your fan base.
Yeah, exactly. And the final question, which everybody's wanted to ask, is will Chipper ever return like he said he would?
Hey, Chipper is, listen, all of these games are haunted by different spirits, right? Right. But the real spirit haunting this whole franchise is Chipper. Chipper is haunting this whole franchise. I mean, I received a box of merchandise the other day, you know, like manufacturer samples, and there's a plush toy of Chipper, well, L Chip, you know. Yeah. But I held that plush toy, and I was looking at L Chip, And I was thinking to myself, you know, you got merch, Chipper.
Yeah.
You know, you were an abysmal failure, but you found your way into this merch, and there you sit with that goofy grin on your face. You know. Yeah, no. So Chipper's already back. He's infiltrated the franchise.
Yeah. Well, so El Chip to you was a reference to Chipper.
Oh yeah, of course he is.
Yeah, thought so. Now, sister location. I feel like this was like the biggest change up in the franchise because you added voice actors. You know, you went beyond the limits of Click Team to a lot of people, where you know you added a sense of free roam in this like huge location. Is that maybe why you decided to put voice acting in to change things up a little bit?
I think for Five Nights at Freddy's 1 through 4, I consider that all like one sitting for me. Like I sat down, I feel like I just sat down and made all 4 games in one sitting.
Yeah.
And it was only after that I sat back and thought, you know, how can I improve upon this? How can I add something new? And so that's when I was, you know, entertaining new ideas in my mind. Yeah. And yeah, voice acting just kind of, I don't remember exactly what it was, but man, I'm sure glad that I did. You know, I bumped into just some incredible talent, you know, that I got to use. Obviously, I mean, almost all of them, if not all of the voice actors I got for Sister Location have come back to reprise their roles or other roles, you know.
Yeah. Exactly, that's awesome.
It's amazing people. Yeah,
they really are. Hello, by the way, voice actors, if you're watching.
Hello, voice actors.
So, I think you've basically answered some of these. So I asked, like, what inspired you to make the game style so different. I mean, like, I think you've answered that throughout the interview. You just wanted to make something different compared to the others. So, how were these two model and design?
I think the Sister Location characters are probably were my favorite ones to model. I really like the metallic kind of look. I always kind of tend to lean sci-fi, which has actually gotten me in trouble a couple of times with this franchise. You know, anytime I try to lean sci-fi, which is my natural inclination, you know, people are like, "Hey, whoa, this is a horror story," and then I have to somehow try to guide it back, you know. And then rightfully so. The first game's a horror movie; it's not sci-fi. But yeah, I don't know. I just I wanted it to be sci-fi. I wanted it to look really sleek and polished, and I really enjoyed modeling all of those characters. And yeah, like I said, I think those are probably some of my favorite characters of the series.
So here's an interesting one, which I don't know if you're going to answer or not. So in Night 4, when we're inside the suit, a lot of people wanted to know, whose suit is that?
Whose suit is that? I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to answer that for you.
That's fine.
That's gonna have to remain a topic of discussion.
Any memories or favorite moments?
I really enjoyed making that game. I have nothing but good memories about that. Yeah,
awesome.
I really enjoyed making that, and I really enjoyed working on the trailer. I think that's my favorite trailer, the ones that I made, and I loved seeing the reactions. Everybody just seemed to, and honestly, I think that's what creates the memories for me, is just seeing how things are kind of received. And you know, obviously, if something is received really well, then I know I did my job right. You know, and I know that I did something right. And yeah, being able so I think my favorite moment was getting to release that trailer and just seeing all the excitement from it. And then I knew that I was on the right track.
Awesome. Yeah, I loved that trailer. I think I did a reaction. Yes, I did a reaction. I loved it. It's so good and different as well, compared to your other trailers too, because I think the favourite trailers from you, to me, are most likely FNAF 3 and Sister Location. I love it when you put like your own cutscenes in the trailers. I think it's really awesome. I have no idea how you did that. How did you do that, if I can ask that? Like, how did you put the models in cutscenes? Was that with Click Team? I don't know anything about this stuff.
Well, I mean, before I was making video games, I mean, I was an animator. You know, I mean, I got my degree in computer animation, and I had several jobs where I was, you know, none of my jobs have ever involved making games at all, it's always been about using 3D Studio Max, obviously the modeling software that I use, and and that's a full animation program. So whenever I went to make the cutscenes, I wouldn't use ClickTeam at all. I would just go back to my old school skills, bring my characters together and animate them. I'd render out movies, drop those into my video editing software, and there you go.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've watched some of your old animations, by the way, on YouTube. They're all out there, Scott.
Oh, I know, man. I know. There's no getting away from them.
No, they were good. Honestly, I'm not even kidding. They were really good. My favourite one, right, was with the cat. So the cat under the bridge, and the kid was always scared to see the cat, but he always used to leave her food, and what he didn't know is that she had babies. That's so cute.
Hey, that's a true story. That is based off of a true story. My family we were living in a little apartment complex, and there was always this creepy, ratty looking cat that we all started fondly calling Demon Cat. And in fact I took and my two sons now, who are teenagers, they were just 3 and 4 at the time. Yeah. But we actually went out searching for demons. We made an event of it one night. We all got flashlights and went searching around the apartment complex looking for the Demon Cat. And I even got a photograph of it. And man, I don't know whatever happened to it, but we peered under a car, and I took a picture, and of course its eyes were glowing green, and we found Demon Cat. But then true to the story, like I don't know if it was a week or 2 later or whatever, it was a mama cat, had little babies, so it wasn't really this big bad cat. It was just a mama. And of course everybody was taking care of it. Like every single person was setting out food for her, so she was well taken care of. That's
awesome. Actually, thinking about your voice right now, you did narrate those, right?
Oh yeah, that was me, and all of the voice roles. I mean, all the male roles, obviously, but
yeah.
These days I'm so fortunate to, be able to go online and be able to connect with voice talent. Not that I wouldn't have been able to afford it back at the time anyway, but the internet was brand new. I mean, we're talking 15, 16, 17 years ago, when the internet was around, but you couldn't just go online and connect with the kind of talent that you can today. So I was pretty much on my own when it came to voice acting.
Okay, moving on to I'd say the highlight of your trollness. Five Nights at Freddy's 6. The game you originally planned to be a pizza simulator, an 8-bit pizza simulator, and everyone was like, okay, let's have it. And you released the whole game without anybody knowing anything for a whole year. Like, why? Just for the surprise.
Well, no, there actually was reasoning behind it. It wasn't just to be a troll, okay? And the reasoning was kind of complicated, and it was not a fun year. I mean, that was a game that was born out of necessity, because I needed to kind of bring a conclusion to several events from the series. However, whenever I was in the early stages of it, and I think I'd released a very early idea that I was working on another game, but I think it was someone on Steam that just made a passing comment. It was just a passing comment. Nobody paid any attention to it. He'd better not just start teasing a game like he always has been before, because it's just not going to cut it anymore, or something like that. I don't know. It was just some passing comment, but it just made me start thinking. It's like this next game, I really can't do that. I can't just do the same thing that I did before. I can't just start releasing teasers, because for some reason at that time I just knew that if I went through another year of just releasing teasers, that would give everybody a lot of fatigue. Like that would fatigue people. That would wear people out, and it was going to rub people the wrong way. And I can't explain why I felt that way, but I just really felt that way. But at the same time, I needed to resolve a lot of issues with the story. And so those two factors combined that's the way that I handled it, the way that I did. I worked on that game for a year in secret, all the while the fan base was, getting pretty agitated that, I wasn't talking to them and I wasn't working on anything. But I knew that was the way that it just had to be. It had to be this way. This game could not have a lot of hype behind it, because that wasn't the purpose. The purpose of it was not to make a lot of money. The purpose of it was not to build a lot of hype. It was just to resolve some plot points that people wanted to see. And so the result of that was me going into the dark for a year, and then just dropping a game, and there you have it. And even on the Steam store, it's not there. It's not there to draw a bunch of attention to itself. It's using all the really simplest screenshots. That is truly there for just people who wanted to have kind of a resolution to some of the story.
It was still a big highlight though. The surprise just, I think, blew everybody away though, to be honest. I mean, it's one of my favourite memories where I'm just, being Freddy, throwing pizzas, and then the game glitches, and then you sat in a room with Scrap Baby. Do you know what I mean? It was the biggest surprise ever.
Well, good. We'll see. And that's exactly what it needed to be, because just like every game kind of needs to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
The way that it's approached needs to be different too. And the reason why I brought that comment was because it just kind of reminded me. It's like you can't just do the same thing that you've been doing. You can't just start releasing teasers again randomly and just expect everybody to keep caring. So I knew that I had to handle it differently, and I think that I was successful with that.
Yeah,
I think it worked out well.
Yeah, it did. Specifically as well, with changing things up a little bit, you added the simulator start, so you make your own pizzeria, you put your own animatronics and designs in. I think that was a really, really cool idea. And it split the game up as well, so you're not just always in an office. You have a break from being scared, and you can make your own pizzeria. Simple as that.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out.
Awesome. Next up is Ultimate Custom Night. So this was literally released a month ago. Has it been a month already?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Maybe a little more even.
With Ultimate Custom Night, having 50 plus animatronics, was this bigger than you originally wanted it to be? So, did you originally think, right, I'm going to put 50 animatronics into this game, or did you just keep building it up?
I always planned. I always knew that it was going to be a full-sized game. Originally, I guess at the very beginning, it was going to be an add-on to Pizzeria Simulator, but it was very soon afterwards that I realized, this is going to be just a full Five Nights at Freddy's experience. This just needs to be its own full game. And originally it was going to be, 40 characters, but then I kind of filled those slots up pretty quick, and there were just too many characters left out. So I had to add an extra row, and even then there were too many characters left out. So I just kept on adding, and I found a lot of really good. I found some really good tricks to really help the program be able to handle it. Because my biggest problem with Pizzeria Simulator, and I'm just kicking myself, was that I wasn't utilizing some of the graphic features properly, especially with the jump scares, because I had these high resolution jump scares, and it would just run out of video memory. So that's why I had to just chop out frames. But there were just some really neat tricks, to render them smaller and then scale them up for the sake of the game. And you really can't tell when you're playing it. They might look a little bit fuzzier, but they still look pretty high quality. But it just allowed me to squeeze in all these characters and all these jump scares and just all this content, really seamlessly.
Was there any scrapped ideas at all for the game? So anything that you wanted in but you couldn't, or you just didn't like how it turned out?
No, whereas in some of the other games, there had been some different ways I considered taking it, but no, Ultimate Custom Night, that was really only the way that it could go, and I kept on just kind of adding on to it. But I will say this just for the record, to all of your viewers listening, I'm going to give you credit where credit is due for coming up with the idea for being able to purchase new office skins. because I think that because originally I had it to where they would just randomly pop up. Whenever I gave you that original test copy to play, you had a 1% chance of each of those offices appearing, and you made a comment saying, "Hey, it'd be cool if you could unlock those." And then I changed that, and now I think it's a great feature of the game. So
awesome. I feel like I've participated in something. Yeah. No, I thought having the offices as a reward would be good, and I think you put the score amounts for each office perfectly. So I think you just said that you were satisfied with the game, but are you satisfied with this possibly being the last game that you might create, the last FNAF game?
Yeah, I am. I really am. Starting with Five Nights at Freddy's 3, there was always something that I wasn't completely happy with, and that would become a core principle of the next game.
Yeah.
With 3, I wasn't completely happy with the jump scares, so I worked on 4. With 4, I wasn't completely happy with the storyline, so I made Sister Location. With Sister Location, I feel like it leaned a little too sci-fi and left a few plot points. Well, there were a few plot points that were really bothering people, so then I made Pizzeria Simulator. But then even with Pizzeria Simulator, even though I was really happy with the game, I don't know. I just felt like it needed a capstone. It needed some other bookend, just some experience. And Ultimate Custom Night brought in all of the characters, and it's been, and I think so far it's been the best reviewed of the games, which thrills me. Of course, I'm really happy to see that everybody's just seemed to really enjoy it. People have even welcomed a DD into their hearts after all this time. It took everyone a little bit of time, but I think everybody likes DD now. So maybe not. No, am I wrong? I'll tell you what. Everybody just leave a comment in Daco's video if you disagree. You hate DD.
I like DD. She can just sometimes spawn at awkward times for me. I mean, with 50/20 mode, there was no stopping. DD, so I wasn't really bothered about. I'm just gonna say, Shadow D. Does she have a specific name? Should you say Shadow DD?
I named Shadow DD XOR, and I'm not sure why. But like with most of the other characters in this franchise, whenever I'm making them, some name immediately comes to mind. It doesn't mean anything, but that's the name of Shadow DD.
XOR. Okay. Well, is that, people said that might be Zor, or is it XOR?
It's just XOR.
Okay, awesome. But yeah, XOR was just with the mechanics of 50/20 mode anyway, so you couldn't be annoyed with XOR because it was part of the mechanics on what to do to try and beat it. Speaking about 50/20 mode, have you tried it after the game has been released? You know it's possible now.
Oh no! Listen, my score, my high score is still just 6,800. Making custom nights. The tricky thing about it, and actually, I only really had to worry about this here. But I know I've mentioned other times that anytime I've ever made a custom night, I've always assumed that the most difficult mode was impossible. I mean, because that was never the intent of the game. When making the game, there are always 5 nights, and I make sure that those nights are beatable. I make sure that the 6th night is beatable. I make sure that nightmare mode is beatable. But as far as as far as setting all the the difficulties all to 20, it's never been a goal to make it possible. And really, one of the main reasons is because if I ever get to a point where I could beat it, then everybody else would beat it within the first 12 hours of the game being released. I mean, me being able to beat something is not a super high bar to clear as far as someone else being able to come along and beat it. With Ultimate Custom Night, it was really tricky because unlike the other games, there was a burden on me to make sure that it could be beaten. And this is one of the areas where I think all these years of designing games really benefited me, because even though I could never beat it, and I still can't beat it, everything was designed in such a way to where I was 99.9% confident that nothing was going to conflict with something else in a way to where it would genuinely make it impossible. And with one exception. one oversight might have been the whole issue of coin collection, because I think I do agree that it might have actually been impossible to collect enough coins, but other mechanics provided kind of a backdoor to solve that. I mean, being able to keep something on your camera and them not moving, that is intentional. It might have been, used in ways that I hadn't intended, but it was intentional, because obviously you don't want to have a character on screen and then suddenly pull down your screen and jump scare you. That would be teleporting. It gives it's kind of immersion breaking if something is one place. So the idea of locking them in place by watching them is a game mechanic, and it was used by everybody in a really clever way to kind of bypass mechanics that might have otherwise made the experience unplayable.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome to know. So watching the plushies was intentional, where they couldn't get you, basically.
Yeah. I mean, and like Lefty is. There are several characters that behave that way. Lefty is one of them also. As long as you keep the camera on Lefty will never attack you. I mean, that's kind of been a feature in, I think, pretty much all of the games, or at least many of them. Yeah.
I think you could actually get 30 Faz coins, by the way. I didn't try that though, because what we did was we kept lifting up the monitor, which made BB and JJ and Helpy spawn. So we just, we could get 10 Faz coins for the Def coin in literally 10 seconds. So I think it is possible to get the plushies if you just,
I think it was just like a month ago that someone finally beat Custom Night for Sister Location before the patch came out.
Oh, yes, I saw that. Yeah, with the power.
Someone did that. So I'm sure that, so who knows, maybe 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years down the road, someone's going to take it upon themselves to beat Custom Night, no death coin, buying all the plushes, and just really torment themselves with that, and that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's not going to be me. Just letting you know that.
It's not going to be you? Come on, man.
Well, I would do it in front of a bet, but
No, you've served your time.
Wow. Okay. I don't think I would be able to, honestly. Maybe like for a charity stream, like something like that, I could maybe do something with it. But yeah, Ultimate Custom Night, one of my favourite games, by the way, in the series. It's on the top for me.
Good.
Really, really awesome, and a nice send off as well, Scott. Bringing them all together.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was a great send off to the game, and I think it's left a lot of people satisfied as well. Though that's a point I wanted to make. I'm satisfied, just letting you know that, and I think a lot of people are satisfied with this too. Like, we understand that it's the last one, and yeah. Speaking about it being the last,
that's all that matters to me. So I'm glad to hear that.
Awesome. You mentioned during the interview that you've watched Matt Pat's theories and stuff. Has there ever been a theorist or somebody you've watched on YouTube and you thought, you know what, this is actually quite close or like very accurate to the story I wanted to tell, or something like that? Like if they were right, close to being right, or something.
Yeah, but I can't say anything whenever I see that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I can't jump in and confirm it, because then people would stop caring at all. Then they would just wait for me to come out and give the answer.
To say something.
So I would just have to look at that. That's why I would just have to look at that comment and just kind of nod to myself, like, you got it. You got it right, friend. But
you can't say anything.
But no one's gonna ever know. You know?
Has that been hard to do that, to stop yourself from, trying to reveal stuff? Because I remember a while ago, in the Matt Pat's live stream, when we were all involved, you were putting things on the website about like some little hints and stuff to try and like guide us to the right direction. but we still never got it.
It has been difficult, and the times that I have tried to step in and say something have usually been mistakes. Because that's part of the fun of it, right? People, the discussion is just as much fun as that's what it's all about. You know,
Yeah.
people really enjoy that, and the times that I've stepped into, I don't know, I've learned to just focus on making the games,
Yeah.
and let the community do the talking, and they really enjoy that. But sometimes I'll see, like I said, someone say something that was way out there, and I want to jump in and say, no, that's not like one of the big things for a while was, you know, whenever Sister Location first came out, there was adult theory,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, and I saw that, and I'm like, oh no, you know, and it wasn't completely off base. Like I could see where it was being derived from, so it's not like it was someone just trying to cause trouble for no reason.
Yeah.
It was just a theory, but I was like I have to step in, like I have to do something to fix this right away, and my response to that, to fix it, evolved into, you know, a pretty simple solution. I would just release a new teaser that would just kind of steer it in the correct direction. You know, and that was the right way to handle it. It's not to directly interact with the community, but to just release a new teaser, you know, that just kind of guides it back. And I did that very soon, like within a couple of days after adult theory gaining popularity, and I kind of guided it back to where it was supposed to be. And then, like I said, sometimes someone would get a good idea, but I can't say anything about that either. You know, I've just tried to monitor the community, monitor the comments, monitor the theories, and then when the group as a whole starts getting the wrong idea, that usually means that, sometimes it just means that I need to do a better job of storytelling, and then I try to use that as kind of course correction for the next thing that I do to guide the story the right way, you know? Yeah,
exactly. Have I ever been right on anything? Like close to anything at all? Or have I just been completely wrong for 4 years?
That's a difficult question to answer, because there are really two kinds of people there are two kinds of theorists, you know? One kind is the kind of viewer or member or whatever who takes all the known facts and only uses those to put together a storyline. Yeah. You know, which is kind of what, you know, MatPat does. Yeah. And then the other kind is taking those few facts and then you just ad-libbing a lot more, taking more creative freedom as to where the story might go. Yeah, yeah. You know, so in other words, one type is trying to figure out what happened, and the other type is the kind that tries to figure out what might happen, like after another 6 months or after another year, after the next game or whatever, you know, and then try to figure it out. So one is much more speculative than the other. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So it's hard to, that being the case, it's hard to gauge people as how right or how wrong they were whenever whenever a lot of people are, you know, obviously adding a lot more of their own imagination to the mix, you know what I mean? Yeah. But all right, I'll say this. I cannot remember a time whenever I watched one of your theory videos and just rolled my eyes like, oh my gosh, you know, okay. He's lost it, you know, so.
Okay, I'll take that. Yeah, because I'm like, I just do videos on just ideas and stuff. Like, if I have an idea, I just say it. And because I like to try and make the community expand more. Do you know what I mean? Not just set their mind on one idea. Like, you know, with any theory, there's always multiple ideas to something. And that's what I tried to do with Ultimate Custom Night and stuff recently. Is try to give the community ideas to have their own judgment on the game. I think MatPat has a lot of pressure to just do one set plan, because if he tries to go with other ideas and stuff, his audience start to think like, well, hold on here, you're going all over the place. You're telling us loads of ideas and not just one solid idea.
Well, I mean, he's got a lot more pressure on him, obviously, just because of, you know, the audience. Yeah. You know, that goes with anything else. There's always going to be a lot more pressure on him and a lot more scrutiny and a lot more criticism, you know, focused on him. You know, I think he's managed it really well without.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, I think he's done really well. You know, and yeah, like I was saying, that's why it's hard to tell you if you've ever been really right or really wrong, because you lean more into the speculative crowd. Yeah, you know, your theories are much more speculative about what could be going on rather than trying to put together solid timelines and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Next question I'd like to ask is, how is the movie going? Because I know a lot of people have been wondering about this.
The movie's been going really well. You know, the first few years of the franchise, everybody was trying to get a movie out as fast as possible, like to catch the hype wave and stuff. But now looking back, I'm really glad that didn't happen, because something that I've really started to come to want over these last few years is I want that movie to be able to stand on its own as a good movie and not ride the coattails of a different part of the franchise, you know, because then, you know, for instance, you know, if you were to make a movie that just had the name Five Nights at Freddy's without a whole lot of emphasis on the quality of the movie itself, then yeah, if it happened during the peak of the popularity of Five Nights at Freddy's, it would do really well. But if the franchise as a whole, you know, had waned a little bit, then the movie wouldn't do well either. Like, I want the movie to stand on its own.
Yeah.
I want the movie to be good on its own right. I want it to be a great movie. And for that reason, I'm really glad it didn't happen in those first few years, because I think too much emphasis would have been placed on getting it out as fast as possible. And, you know, one of the challenges with the movie, and one of the reasons why it has taken so long, it's actually really difficult to make a script of this. I've had the privilege of working with a couple of studios now, obviously, talked to a lot of directors. I've had a lot of scripts come across my desk. I've had a lot of ideas pitched. And, you know, one of the biggest challenges, and I've written 3 scripts on my own. And I've struggled, honestly, with the same problem as lots of these other directors, which is just the fact that with 8 games, 5 books, including the security log book and the I forget the name
Ready
of the
Files.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, so with the 8 games, 5 books, you know, just thousands over thousands of videos and fan theories and this and that and timelines and all this stuff. Too many, you know, the people I work with so far have either looked at it all, been completely overwhelmed, and decided to do something completely original, just start completely over, and obviously that doesn't work. And a couple other guys have tried to incorporate everything into some, you know, master script that includes every aspect, every character, every idea, and obviously that doesn't work either, because then it's just a dumpster fire. It's just too much to squeeze into 2 hours. You can't do it. You know, you cannot do it. And, you know, originally the script was going to be based on the books, which eventually I decided was not the way to go. You know, the books were originally designed for people who just wanted extra stories. You know, they wanted a little bit more detail, more story, but that was never intended to be the definitive story of Five Nights at Freddy's. And people who go to see the movie aren't going to want to see a retelling of the books. They're going to want to see the first game. They're going to want to see a retelling of the story that got them interested in the first place. You know, the first game had the right atmosphere, the right characters, and that's what people are going to want. And ideally, if the first movie does really well, I think it would work great as a trilogy. Five Nights at Freddy's 1, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and Five Nights at Freddy's 3, based on the first 3 games. I'm not going to go into the first movie with that mentality, though. You know, I've seen too many good movies get kind of sidetracked by trying to set up future movies. I'm not going to fall into that. I'm just going to really focus on telling a good story with this first one. But yeah, I've seen some interesting things, and I'm going to try to be really careful, you know, not to sound critical of some of the ideas that I've seen, because, like I said, you know, there were a lot of challenges to writing a script for this, even for me, because there's just so much information. But there are some things that I'm really glad never made it. You know, and one of them being that something that I actually heard on, I think it was Matt Pat on a live stream, was musing about bad ideas that could potentially happen in a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and one of the ones that he just brushed off and laughed about was the idea of plush toys coming to life. And I heard that, and that's another time where I wanted to jump in and say something, but I knew that I couldn't, because that is something that actually could have happened. You know, it wasn't a full-blown script, but somebody had that idea and could have implemented it, and there wouldn't have been a whole lot that I could have done about it at the time. So that's a scary thought, and that's kind of the risk, you know, that's kind of the risk of not really understanding a franchise really well, and then trying to come up with something that's I don't know, that would have been that would have been really bad. But yeah, I heard him mention that comment on his live stream. I was thinking to myself, you have no idea that actually almost happened. That specific idea, plush toys coming to life and taking over Manhattan, that actually almost happened.
I actually kind of want to see that now, though.
Well, you know, I don't know. It just maybe it would work better with a different name, but
yeah, I mean the community's so talented and stuff. Maybe they could make a little cartoon or something, like an animation of it happening as a joke.
I don't know, man. but yeah, but in short, though, I think that everything's where it needs to be right now. You know.
So what's next? What you got any future projects or anything that you're working on?
I'm gonna try to take life a little easier. I think I did finally get a couple of big deals signed with some companies, and I'll be able to provide details on that later. But there are a few big things in the works that are happening right now, which is the virtual reality game is going, and the augmented reality game is going. And I know most people, you know, the only example they can think of for augmented reality would be Pokemon Go. You know, but really, augmented reality game just means, you know, you hold up your phone and then things are kind of overlaid on the screen.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of half and half between what you're really seeing and then something superimposed. So, I don't think it's not going to have any kind of, you know, you're not going to be running through the bushes in your neighbor's yard trying to catch Freddy Fazbear or anything like that. You know, it's going to be something. I'm thinking it'll be kind of like a party game, something to do with your friends. You know, creeping through the dark, you know, creeping through your house, and then somebody's going to jump out at you. Yeah. But that's in the early stages. But I think it's going to be really cool. So that's in the works. And I'm in talks with a company right now to start porting Five Nights at Freddy's to some major consoles right now, and I'm going to hold off on that because, you know, until I have more details on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I'm really encouraged by that. For the longest time, I wasn't willing to sign on with any companies because I was keeping the series too tight under wraps. You know, I really wanted to be protective of the story. I didn't want other companies to come in and add characters. I didn't want other companies to come in and add storylines. Yeah. And I'm still holding on to that. You know, my deals with them are very, very specific. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't have free reign to add storylines and characters. But I am more open to getting help now. You know, I'm more open to letting other companies do what I can't do. Like, you know, I don't know how to make an augmented reality game. I can't do that on my own. I don't know how to make a virtual reality game. I can't do that on my own.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm working really closely. You know, I've done my best to pick really good people to work with. So. Yeah, good things. Exciting,
very exciting. So we've got these the VR, the AR, the movie, so possible console port. So yeah, really excited. So I think a lot of people are going to be excited for those, definitely. If you could get the second, I think you've just answered this, but this is a little bit different. If you could get a second chance to go back to 2013-14, would you do it all over again in the same way?
I don't know. I don't think I'd go back and. I mean, obviously there are little details I want to maybe polish up on, but no, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, you know, yeah, in 2014, I think I mentioned this on an online interview, but you know, I was considering making another Legacy of Flan game, which is some series I used to make, some obscure series I used to work on many years ago that like 2 people know about, or work on another, or work on a sequel to The Desolate Hope, or make an indie horror game, you know, featuring security cameras, you know, and that was a long decision, you know, and it could have gone any direction, and then I chose the indie horror game, and then same thing with the sequel. After I made the first one, I almost didn't make a sequel to it. You know, I was considering 2 or 3 different game ideas. But no, everything turned out for the best, I think. I wouldn't go back and mess with it.
Did your family, through the course of these years, give you any good ideas, or did they implement anything in any way, or influence the story?
Well, I will tell you, my oldest son, Ian, he contributed an idea for the first game that has become iconic to the series, and the series could not go on without it.
Right.
And I need to take a moment to give him full credit for that. My son Ian, after they had been beta testing, I was like, hey, so do you guys have any suggestions for anything? Like, what do y'all think I should add to this? And Ian said, you should make it so that when you click on Freddy's nose, it honks. and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of a fun Easter egg.
Yeah.
So I added it in, and now the rest is history. Like a game can't go by without being able to click on Freddy's nose. Like, it's become just,
We all expect it. Yeah.
So big shout out to Ian for,
Thank you, Ian,
for coming up with that.
That's awesome.
But I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, it's just nice to have a support group. It's great to have people around you who just support you. Yeah, I mean, that's really the most important thing, even more important than directly contributing ideas. It's just people who are around you and love you and support you and they encourage you to try one more time. You can't find anything more valuable than that.
Yeah, you're exactly right there. Yeah. Do you have any favorite games? I think you said before that you liked Mega Man, or am I completely wrong here?
All right. Well, I'm definitely a retro gamer. Whenever I pick a system to play on, I never go beyond Super Nintendo. So I'm stuck in 1993. I have my Nintendo and I have my Super Nintendo. All the games that I play are on those two. And I pick a game every once in a while that I'll try to really master or whatever. Yeah, Mega Man 3 was my big accomplishment. I could play through that game Buster only. Very proud of it. And only recently, I know this will be really random, but recently I found a new gem that defeated me as a kid, which is UN Squadron on Super Nintendo. It's a side-scrolling airplane game. Used to tear me apart as a kid, but now I've been really playing that every day and dedicating myself to it. And I beat it on normal mode. Now I'm fighting through on hard mode. Just whenever I get a chance. I don't have a whole lot of time to play games.
I mean, a few days ago, by the way, on the Reddit, a lot of people were posting things about your birthday, right? A lot of people would like to know when your birthday actually is, if you're allowed to say. It's just so we can say happy birthday.
Okay. Yeah, there's been a lot of confusion about this. Yes, because depending on what year you would try to look me up, a different birthday would appear on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
In a different picture.
Yes, the original picture. Yep, I remember that.
So I'll just tell us right now. My birthday is February 31st.
Okay. For some reason, I've always thought it was like summer. For some reason. So February, awesome. Okay. So, that's the wrap for the interview. Apart from one final thing, would you like to say any final thoughts to the people?
I think I would just like to make sure everybody out there knows how much I really appreciate this fan base and just how much I appreciate all of the support. Before all this Five Nights at Freddy's stuff had started, and I had just made the Desolate Hope. I was online and I found one piece of fan art that someone had made of the Desolate Hope characters. Mm-hmm. Just randomly. I have no idea who it was. I have no idea what happened to that picture. But, that was so special to me, seeing that someone out there had enjoyed that game and drawn one of those characters. Like, that was just incredible to me. It made me feel so good. Made my day, made my week, made my month. And so now to be able to, go online and just see this, incredible community of people, with people that have 10 times the artistic talent as I do, with all this, with this fan art, these fan games, there are some incredible games out there, and I don't want to, I'm scared to mention names of anyone because I know that I'm going to leave out important ones, but I mean, like seeing these insane games that Nixon comes up with.
Yeah.
And I've always heard nothing but good things about like the storylines in Pop Goes. And then, the artistic direction of games like Flumpties.
Yeah.
This, like, everybody has these specialties where they just flourish in the stuff that they make. And like you go into Game Jolt and just see these pages of all these really cool ones. And I picked out a few, but because those are probably the more experienced members of the community, but I don't want to overlook people who are up and coming game designers who decide to make fan games as their first game. And what an honor that is. What an incredible honor that is for someone to want to be a game developer and to have their first couple of games be a Five Nights at Freddy's fan game. It's just such an honor. And like I said, just the incredible artistic community, like on DeviantArt. And anytime I go on Reddit, just these illustrations that people make. And I've been fortunate enough to snag a couple of those artists to do official artwork for me. But and the memes are great too. I've been very fortunate to see myself featured in memes. Not many people get to say that, and to see my characters featured in memes. So that's always exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just the YouTube community, just amazing. I mean, you, Razbowski, the Ryans, Corey Kenshin, Fusion, just this whole community of great YouTubers have just been so supportive over the years. I'm just blessed. I'm just really blessed. This isn't so much a thank you as just I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to just be surrounded by just such an incredibly talented community. Yeah. It's just been an amazing experience. It really has been.
Yeah, and for many years to come, by the way, Scott, like, we'll always be supportive with the community and you, always.
Well, I'm going to try not to let you guys down, but I hope, I mean, I don't always get these things just right, but I hope everybody in the community believes at least that, just like what I said, how I've been trying to write this script. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean the movie's going to be perfect, and it doesn't mean that these next few games are going to be perfect, but I hope everybody at least believes that my number one goal is to make sure that I don't let anybody out there down. I know that a lot of people enjoy these characters and enjoy these games, and that means the world to me. I'm just going to try not to let anybody down. That's always at the forefront of all of my thoughts, just making sure that I do right by everybody.
So yeah, thank you so much, Scott. I really do appreciate it. It's been a long interview, and I really do appreciate the fact that you took the time to do this. It means a lot to me and everybody watching, of course.
Well, I hope I haven't misspoke anywhere. I hope the fan base will forgive me if I overcomplicate at some point. The last thing I want to do is see a flame war erupt on Reddit right after this interview with everybody taking something that I said. So let me just make the disclaimer again. Like, no lore has been hidden in this interview. Like, this is all off the cuff. Nothing was pre-planned. And this is just some guy, talking about his experiences making the game series. So I hope nobody will read too much into that, but yeah, this has been a lot of fun, Lewis. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you very much. And yeah, and that's what the community's like, though. They try and think about things too much. So yeah.
Well, and I've done that. That's my fault. This is what I have created.
Curious people. I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about everything. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I really hope that the interview has satisfied you. Because there's been a lot of hype for this, so hopefully, the questions were good and everything was perfect for you guys. So yeah, thanks for watching.